In today's tutorial, I'm guiding you through a single plant. We're going to paint these beautiful pink blossoms and slender green leaves, all in episode 3 of our Watercolor Flowers series. Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and on this channel we do all kinds of art tutorials, watercolors, and journaling, so make sure to subscribe if you're new here. And let's talk supplies for today's tutorial. We're using cold pressed watercolor paper, 140 pound. I've got my koi watercolor set from Sakura. I'm using 2 glasses of clean water. I've got a paper towel for blotting, and then I've got a couple medium-sized brushes. I have a number 5 round brush here, and I also have a number 4 filbert, and the filbert has a rounded bristle, good for sort of blending and doing round bits. And then I have 2 small brushes, a number 1 and a 0. They're both very, very fine detail brushes. And I'm going to start with the larger round brush and mix up all the colors that I'm going to use today. So I am mixing sort of a dark, cool green, mixing a little bit of black into it, lots of dark green to give it a nice depth. And then I'm mixing up just sort of a peachy pink color, working with pretty standard colors today, I guess. And I just want to say, remember to mix lots and lots of water into your paints. You want them very watery, like the consistency of water. Okay, and I am starting here by just laying down 4 petals. Now these petals can be any shape. Don't overwork them. I tend to, try to fix mine up a little, but you don't want to do too much. You want to lay down a petal, another petal, a third petal, a fourth petal, and then you just want to call it a flower and walk away. So try not to sort of go back and try to get it right. Just be loose, be free with those petals. What you can do is add a little bit of a darker color in the center of the flower, like brown or maybe even just a darker pink, so you can experiment a little. Once the color or once the water is on the page, you can experiment a bit, but watercolors are all about that whimsy, and so you don't want to work them too hard. You want to let them be. And you can see I'm putting down some 4 petal flowers that are sort of open, they're sort of facing the viewer dead on, and then I'm also doing some flowers that are sort of opening away from the other flowers. So what I've done is an arrangement of 3 main flowers in the middle, some flowers opening up to the left and opening up to the right, and then I'll put some smaller flowers in the foreground, at the bottom, and at the top. So that's how I'm creating my arrangement here, since this is going to be a plant that's actually one plant. Instead of a floral design, we're just doing this one plant. And so now that that's done, I'm going to use my detail brush, my number 1 round brush, and I am going to start painting the green leaves. And I've got these tiny little leaves sort of growing up in behind, and I'm just starting with some stems going upwards and then lots of pairs of leaves all the way down the stem. And we've painted so many leaves on this channel, but I always do sort of the same thing, and that is just to drag the belly of the brush across the page, and you use the tip of the brush to get that little fine tip on the end of each leaf. But again, just like the petals on the flowers, don't overwork them. Just swipe that brush across the page, maybe put a little fine tip on the leaf and call it a leaf, and you're done. Oh, I just smudged my wet paint with my hand. I do that all the time. I'm gonna go back in and try to fix it, and I'll show you at the end of the video how you can fix a paint smudge that you can't get rid of. So sometimes wet paint, you can use a bit of clean water to erase it, but when you can't do that, I've got another trick. So what I'm doing here is I am just using different varying shades or lightnesses of green to fill in and sort of weave in lots of leaves. So the leaves are all growing upward. They're all sort of in behind the flowers. I'm weaving all the flowers together with stems and leaves, and then some leaves are darker and some leaves are lighter. So that just gives me a nice variation. It's just a nice design element to have some dark and some light. So so you don't need to mix up a bunch of different greens. And you can see all the stems are sort of starting from one place and they all grow up and out. So we're creating a floral arrangement that really looks like it could be real flowers. And I'm just having fun sort of having some leaves go this way and that way. All the leaves are sort of the same shape. I'm kind of doing long, thin leaves and then a rounder leaf. So I've got 2 leaf shapes and a bunch of different sizes. And you can see on my palette here, all I do is mix in more water towards one side, and then on the other side I have a more opaque paint. So that way I can, put a dark leaf when I want to, grab the opaque paint. When I want some lighter leaves, grab that more watery paint at the bottom of the palette. So that's how I'm working, and I'm just keep working this piece, looking for where do I need one more little branch, or where do I need to fill in with one leaf or a little stem. And I'm getting towards the end here. So what I want to do now that these flowers are dry is come back in with a little bit of a darker pink or orange or red or whatever you like. And I'm just adding a bit of color, as if the petals were maybe a little bit variegated and they've got some extra color there. I'm going to add that color to all of them, at least a little bit. It also just helps them look a little less flat. So if you weren't able to get a good variation of color with the first wash, with the first painting, you can always go back in and add more. Give it more oomph. Make that painting really pop off the page. And I'm also going to add some more brown to the stamen of each flower, to the center, at least to the open flowers. I'll add it right in the center. And then on these flowers that are sort of facing away from your viewer, I'm just adding little lines for the stamen, as if it was sort of like a poppy, where the stamen is going up and out of that blossom. And finally, I'm just adding some little lines on some of the leaves. I've got a really dark green for this. You do not have to do that if you feel like your lines are just gonna look maybe a little too thick, although it is great practice for just using the very, very tip of your brush. And then when you step back from the piece and it's finally sort of done, you can look and say, okay, is there 1 or 2 more spots where I need a couple more leaves, and go in with that really, really light green and just fill in, but don't go overboard. This doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. You want some balance in the piece, but you also want natural. All right, let's try to get rid of this little spot. Make sure it's dry. Then you're gonna need a little X-Acto knife and an eraser, and you just go in with the tip of the knife and you sort of shave the paper, sand down that paper a little bit. It'll be quite crumbly. Use the eraser to smooth it out, and voila, you have no troubles. Your mistake is gone. I use that one a lot. Okay, thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope you're enjoying this new monthly series. This is number 3 in the floral watercolor videos. So go check out episode 1 and 2 if you haven't already and you're into watercolor florals. And I will see you soon with a brand new tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe.